Hello, my name's DJ Heckes. I'm the owner of EXHIB-IT for 21 years in business. I'm a small business owner, probably a lot like many of you out there. And what I want to share with you today is what I'm hearing as a pain point from many small business owners out there. How to find the right talent to hire. It is hard right now. So I want to share with you a process and system that we use at EXHIB-IT that has worked so well that I have a really dynamic team that it works smart and works hard. So let's talk about the process. The first thing I do is my outreach and my preparation process. What that means is make sure you have a job description that has results, goals, expectations, and deliverables. What do you expect in that new hire, in that new job position? You know how they always say, ask a busy person to do something and you'll get it done? Well, it goes the same way with job descriptions. Have a good job description that they know exactly what's expected in the job to find that right hire. Then utilize, if you're in social media and you have a great following, or you have influencers out there in social media, use that talent. What I do in LinkedIn is I'll reach out to my friends and I'll say, hey, I'm looking for a new hire of this job description, this salary range, and these, like a bulleted format. Believe it or not, it works. I'll ask them to DM me, or I won't put my email out there. I usually ask for a direct message. I'll get in some direct messages. When they direct message me, then I'll give them my email and get the resumes in. That's only one area that I do. The other one, business owners, I know you're members of organizations out there. Reach out to those memberships. Find out if you can find hires through their resources. Do they have hiring boards? Do they have networking events that you can go to or post job openings? That's one great source. Or go to an agency and find someone there. Step number 2, you want to make sure when you get those resumes, you're not just looking at the resume. Because believe it or not, resumes can be better than the actual hire, right? Well, what I do is I have a rating system. I use an Excel spreadsheet that has criteria that's important to me. I look at education. Do they volunteer? Have they job hopped a lot? I want to know stability. I want to know if they've worked at different places or if they have maybe 5 years of marketing and sales experience. That's just my criteria. Yours might be different. So I'll rate them, and they have 20 points each question. When I rate the resumes, if they get an 80 or above, then I start the interview process, step 3. This is where you do the phone interview, or you do a virtual or in person, depending on your state and the requirements of Mass. So this is where you ask those important questions. And don't ask questions they expect to hear, because guess what? New applicants know how to answer those questions that everybody asks. Ask those purpose. What is the perfect day in a life for you in a job? Ask those questions that kind of get them thinking, because what you want to do is you want to find out, are they problem solvers? Are they critical thinking? Can they lead and self-manage? Believe it or not, you can find those hires if you ask the right questions. The second thing I do is, let's say they go through the first process and everything looks good. Now, hint, entrepreneurs out there, we're terrible hires. It took me over 15 years to perfect this, because I would always hire from my gut. And guess what? Our guts, sometimes we think every employee thinks like us and works as hard as us. No. If you want to find a good employee, you have to really do your due diligence on the interview process. So they pass the first interview and you're like, spot on. This is a perfect new hire. Go to the next step. Please do not forego giving an assessment to that new hire. It's not an aptitude test. It is actually to find out how they think, how they communicate, how they want to be managed. Are they leaders? Are they followers? How do they work under stress? And what I do is I have an assessment coach, and I do not hire someone unless I do this process, because every time I hired and I didn't do an assessment, it backfired. Because remember, entrepreneurs hire from their gut. Don't hire from your gut. Do the logical way too. So let's say they go through the assessments. When you give an assessment to someone, you have to know the expectations of the job. So you take the assessment first as if you were the new hire that would turn around and take the job. When they pass the assessment, you compare and contrast the differences. A lot of times in assessment, you might find things out like they have a different worldview or they don't fit your culture. These are the things that are important because remember, when I hire culture first. I can teach talent, but I can't teach culture. So then I go on to the last step of the interview process. Believe it or not, it sounds like it's a stretched out, but remember, business owners, managers, slow to hire, fast to fire. So what I do is after the assessment and they pass it, the final interview. If you do it on phone or preferably Zoom or in person, you have your staff involved. If you have that ability, we're a small business. So what I do is I have them meet with the staff. The staff goes through and talks with the interviewee and says what they need from that hire and says how their job duties affect them. Because we work in a standard operating procedure in our company. So every position in the seat will affect another one. So if you want that kind of company that's run, that has great people and great systems, have your staff interview. They'll tell you the truth. And then when they pass that, this is the time for the offer letter. When you send out the offer letter, put everything that you promised them. This is where many companies fail. They will forget what they talked about in the interview. And the interviewee will remember everything you said. If you promise X amount of PTO, X amount of vacation, X amount of salary, you better put it in writing. Because this is where the ambiguity comes in when you have a new hire. So I like to do it because I might forget. Not because, I'm a perfectionist. It's like, I really believe in that communication because you're offering them, here's what I'm going to do for you. Here's what I need from you. Here's your hours. Here's the expectations. Here's the job description. They sign off. Everything's great, right? This is where the onboarding happens. If you find that great hire and you don't onboard that person properly, they're going to walk out the door within 4 months. Because every person that looks for a job also looks for stability, safety, and a home to feel like they're part of. And if you can provide that cultural influence and you can provide that team camaraderie, you want to hire a Gen X or a Gen Y, that's what they starve for. So make sure you have a collaborative team. When you onboard them, be prepared. Don't just throw them into the job and let them figure it out. They're going to leave. They might stay and weather it out till about 4 months. I say 4 months because that's the magic month where you know if a person's going to stay or leave. Because it's after the 90-day and it's a month after and they know everybody's kind of getting more relaxed, the employees and the new hire, and that's where you really know if you've done a good hire. So I hope you like all the tips. Remember, number 1, use your resources in social media, all your memberships, reach out or go through an agency. Number 2, we have a 3-step process on your hiring interviewing. It's so important because the first one is you're asking the questions. The second one is you're taking an assessment to make sure it's a good cultural fit and they can critical think, problem solve, how to manage and communicate. Then the team interview, you know if that person's going to work as a team or if your team is going to be accepting too. Because a lot of times you could have a great team and you add one person in and it gets unbalanced. The last part is that onboarding. Do it the right way and you'll have a great team. If you have more questions, reach out to me at CEO@EXHIB-IT.com. Hope you enjoyed these tips. Stay tuned for next week.